Hi, everyone. Welcome to the latest edition of Walter's World, the Astadia podcast series talking about mainframe migration, modernization, and solutioning. Today, I am delighted to have with me Aman Gupta, who's a mainframe solution specialist working for Google, specializing in mainframe transformation. Welcome, Aman. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well, Walter, and thanks for having me over.
Oh, we're delighted to have you here. Uh, Aman, for the audience, could you kind of describe what you and your team do for Google?
Sure, Walter. Strategically, we help customers find the right platform technologies to put the business on the growth trajectory. And I know that it's a loaded statement, but that's more of our vision. More technically, we work with our clients to understand their mainframe legacy estate, their business priorities, challenges, ongoing initiatives, and develop a modernization strategy and solution roadmap which addresses their imperatives to modernize, identifies the right point of intervention so that we don't disrupt the ongoing initiatives, bring a right balance between risk, cost, and benefits, and help them execute the programs by Google and our partner involvement like Astadia. Speaking of that, Walter, what is your approach towards mainframe modernization?
Thank you for asking. We find it fascinating what the cloud has done to the mainframe migration space over the last multiple years. Things that people wouldn't have believed possible before are becoming a reality. It truly is the art of the possible right now, and a lot of that is because of the cloud. So our goal is to be able to have that mainframe understanding working with an organization like Google who specializes in cloud and has such amazing offerings so that there's a marriage of best benefits from both organizations. Just moving mainframe by itself is of interest. Moving it to an environment where you can start to leverage moving forward what these mainframe customers can do, that's where the real beauty is. So our approach is to work with an organization like Google to offer that best of benefits to our joint customers, where they get to retain their business logic or their functionality if that's what they want to do. If they instead want to go through and refactor their applications, to be able in a more cloud native environment to work with that moving forward. That's why we're so excited. We think it's such a great partnership. You have a lot of mainframe expertise with Astadia. You have the perfect cloud knowledge with Google that gives customers options that, in my opinion, they just never had before. Thanks for asking that question.
Well, that's so wonderful to hear. And as you rightly said, it's a perfect marriage.
I think so, absolutely. Talking about changes, could I ask you, do you feel that the pace of companies talking to Google about mainframe alternatives, has 2020 seen an increase in that for you?
Well, absolutely, it sure has. And it's companies are not only talking to Google about mainframe alternatives, but also working with us to actively engage and embark on their digital adoption journey. A bit of a history lesson. So I think mainframe modernization came into the mainstream somewhere around 2005, 2006. And that time it was perceived as let's take a one big mainframe and put the workload into the multiple small servers and create a server farm. Well, that didn't go quite far because it was leading to quite a bit of server management overhead. So with advent and maturity of cloud infrastructure, mainframe modernization picked up again, I think around 2014-15. That time, solution providers were more focused on the mainframe decommission and migrating workload onto the cloud, rather than taking the business to a different level. And that's where Google has a very differentiated approach. Our focus is more on because Google is a innovation and technology company, right? So innovation is in DNA. Our focus is more onto 100x business amplification and putting it onto the growth trajectory by leveraging and integrating with larger Google system. So we have search, map, ads. Google has invested heavily in healthcare, retail, financial services, travel. So not only we just want to take mainframe workload onto the Google Cloud, but also provide them a platform and services that help them take their business to just a different dimension. So it's not only just solving the status quo, but showing a futuristic point of view about their business.
That's what makes it so exciting to me, is that it's not just a transition to a different environment. I've always called it a springboard to being able to do things differently than an organization has ever been able to do it before. It's funny for me, back in probably, I don't know, 2012, when I first started working with looking at moving to the cloud and to provide that capability, we had lots of people ask us, do you have the ability to move to the cloud? And the answer was yes. When I would ask them, are you ready to do that? The answer at that point in time for many was, oh, heck no, I don't want to be first. Today, every conversation we have with a customer, it seems, starts out with the question, how can you get me to the cloud the quickest? So it sounds like you've seen the same kind of changes that we have here.
Absolutely, Walter. And it's not only about just get to the cloud, and it's not only about solving the issues that we see from the mainframe modernization, just about the skill set or whatnot. That's just solving one part of it. And while there will be steps to get off the mainframe and to the cloud, but the main point and the differentiated point is how business would benefit to the newer business models, the changing customer behavior, and get to the stage where they are futuristic in point of view and more become an innovative company rather than doing the same but on cloud. So they're just solving one part of the equation.
Absolutely, absolutely. Might I ask, do you feel that Google has a global presence for your mainframe modernization to GCP strategy?
Oh, absolutely. We currently have teams in US. I'm based out of US. We have a significant footprint in EMEA and APAC, and we are continuing to expand in other geographies, including Latin America and Canada. So it's a global base focused on mainframe to Google Cloud, and we are continually expanding in both in solution offering, pre-sales, technical, and building a robust partner network as we've done with Astadia.
That makes sense. Thank you. I'm always interested in this. From your experience, what do you think the number one reason has been that your customers are coming to Google for mainframe transformation?
It's hard to pick number one, but let me try. I mean, there are many. But first and foremost, I think the customers are coming to us because Google is an innovation and a technology company. I think that's where it's in a DNA to help customers looking more from the innovation standpoint, not just solving the current problem. Our focus is on customer growth trajectory, leveraging our larger ecosystem, really positions us well in the boardroom and with the decision maker. Now, our investment in Google Cloud as a solid enterprise cloud infrastructure with services like AI, ML, BigQuery, analytics, Anthos, APJ, Kubernetes is another big reason. Because when the mainframe workload comes to Google, there's already services available that the application can start doing wonders which they could never dream of doing while on mainframe. Now, coming specific to mainframe, I highlight two main reasons that really distinguish and differentiate Google Cloud from others. One is the regional extension. So what we do in regional extension is we have a proximal mainframe data center that customers can migrate their mainframe application and exit the data center. It helps two ways. One is they can exit the data center and focus on their business. Second, as you know, Walter, the mainframe transformation journey is typically a slightly longish time frame, depending on the solution team. So CIOs always have an interim doubt about the performance drop during the course of transformation. With our regional extension, we offer them sub-millisecond response time between applications on mainframe and applications on cloud. So that takes care of the concern about the performance drop. Second, we have made huge investments in building a model-driven automated application transformation engine we call G4 that helps us understand the application to do deep discovery, demystify the hairball, unravel program data interdependencies, and finally break monoliths to microservices. And with this, we not only adopt the new modern languages, but also new ways of IT architectures while leveraging the investments made in the legacy applications. So these are the some of, it's not one, but the key reasons why many of the customers are gravitated towards GCP, towards mainframe modernization, while just a while ago, mainframe and Google were not taken in the same.
It's a fascinating story, and you said something that struck a chord with me. I truly believe this when you were talking about the ability to kind of analyze where people have, so that you know what is involved. I often say that you can't figure out how to get where you're going if you don't know where you're starting from.
Absolutely.
So having that understanding of all of the components, mainframe, as we all know, it's a wonderful environment. It works great. It does the same thing the same way every day, gives you the same perfect results. But understanding all of the components that are there and what that mapping to their replacement technologies might be is really important. So I understand how that has been a big benefit for you.
Sure.
One other question I'd like to ask, if you don't mind, I find this one fascinating. Here at Astadia, we try to offer alternatives to our clients. We think that we never want to force someone down a particular road. We want to understand what's right for them, because no two mainframe environments are the same. So we help people refactor to new technologies. We also help people kind of use the same technologies that they have in place today. If they're a COBOL shop, they can stay a COBOL shop. I'm curious, from your perspective and talking to your clients, would you say that your customers are more interested in retaining their business logic and technologies, or are they more interested in moving to newer technologies, or is it a hybrid where they do one to kind of get the cost savings to then pay for the second alternative?
Walter, it's a very interesting and at the same time very tricky question. I don't think the customers are concerned about retaining business logic in a language, but they're more concerned about their ability to change that logic and cater to the business. So the responding to business needs, changing that logic at a much easy, having the skill set to maintain the application and keep continuing catering to business requirements, adopting new business model is their main concern. And with that, mainframe environments and application workload are so diverse that no one size fit all. Right. So that is why we don't go with one, as you call, prescription-based approach, whether it will just COBOL to COBOL versus COBOL refactoring or rehost or retire, retain. We look at from the business lens. We try to identify what platform or solution team would fit well to the complete workload or part of the workload, and then we create the modernization roadmap. And we understood about their existing investments already being made in the legacy technology. So we made investments in G4, which leverage that business logic, but yet provide a new way of managing or changing that business logic so that they get best of both worlds.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Given today's current events, I have to ask, do you feel that COVID has accelerated the push to consider alternatives to mainframe workloads and interfacing with GCP?
Truthfully, the answer is yes. There were some memes going on in social media where the question is, which pushed your company to adopt digital practices, CXO, CMO, CIO, or COVID? And many times the answer was ticked as COVID. So I think this is no different scenario. COVID has pushed, I would rather say forced, many companies to come out of their comfort zone and take definite action towards future-proofing of their IT estate and rapid adoption of newer technologies. More companies are moving from human-managed data centers to software-managed data centers. Because COVID has made it evident that there may be time when people are not able to go to their workplaces. There may be a disruption because of workforce not being available. So it should be more managed by software so that the business can be continually sustained. Many customers and especially state and local government, there was a famous appeal from many governors asking for COBOL programmers so that they could disperse the government funding during the time of COVID. And they are facing challenges because of dated and legacy technologies. So more are making it, the concerted effort to come out of the legacy technologies, more adoption of newer technologies, more on-prem data center to cloud infrastructure, more human managed to software managed, and hence more mainframe migration to Google Cloud.
We have seen the same. It has had a dramatic impact as this aging workforce has had to consider, how COVID impacts them. Many people have said, I just don't think I want to go back to that data center. I don't want to go to work. So it has certainly changed this environment, and hopefully this next year will be a better one for us all with it.
And you're right, Paul. Not only it has changed, the way people are working, the workforce, but tomorrow the workforce, if you ask many people whether they're willing to go back to the regular office, say 9 to 5, 40-hour work week in office, I think that mindset has completely changed now. People would be adopting to new workforce model. They would be more flexible because to maintain balance and where they see more productive. And work from home to some extent was a taboo before COVID. And now the COVID has also proved that people can work remotely and being equally or more productive. So I think that also will play another critical role in migration of older data set mindset shift to more newer ones.
I totally agree with you. I would like to ask, obviously people are concerned when they consider changing something that they've been doing for 40 years. What are the biggest objections you hear from companies when you talk to them about them considering a move to the cloud?
So, Walter, the objections come different objections come from different levels. So if you're talking to C-suite, which is typically more motivated towards mainframe modernization because they think more strategic and they set the vision of the company, so they're more motivated. But their objection is more towards managing workforce, cultural change. And of course, because they write the check, they also are more concerned about return on investment.
Sure.
So, right, they also have concern about how the mainframe workload then transform will be integrated with larger ecosystem instead of continuing to be looked at as legacy. So they just don't want to lift and shift for the sake of it, but to see how they can leverage the transformed application and improve their business. Now, if you're talking to infrastructure executives, they have different objections, which is more concerned about performance during and after the transformation. Application team is more concerned about code quality, retraining of the workforce, DevOps, CI/CD, integration with other digital application. So we've seen different objections from different walks of or echelons of power, and that is why, if you see our approach is to address everything. Our G4 addresses the application viewpoint and provide the complete model-driven, manageable code quality. Mm-hmm. Our regional extension offers the right performance during and after the transformation. And larger one Google ecosystem integrates the erstwhile mainframe workload with a larger Google environment and embarks onto the growth trajectory for the business.
That certainly makes sense. Thank you. People ask this question of me all the time, and I'm curious to see if you get the same question. From your perspective, do you feel there are any practical limits to the type of mainframe workloads that can be moved to GCP?
So, as a the hardcore technologist, I would say one thing, that technically everything is possible. There's all kind of workload with a package, TPF, bespoke, anything can be run on Google Cloud. However, with more wearing my consultant hat, and if I were to derive the right solution, my recommendation is to look at your business and identify the right platform for the right workload. We don't bulldoze just a prescription-based solution that change everything. But what we suggest is, if it's a high transactional volume, go to Google Cloud. If it's a more customer-facing, rewrite. If it's a heavy batch-oriented data processing, run as a rehost on Google Cloud, so that you get the best. However, if it's a application which has a very limited longevity, and at the end of the life cycle, you may just be okay with keeping it on mainframe and retiring from there. So we don't go with a prescription-based solution. While anything can be run on GCP, I don't see there's any problem or whatsoever. But from the strategic standpoint, we look at the workload and offer what makes sense for the business and as a whole, as opposed to just what makes sense for the consumption. So we are more business-centric, customer-focused approach as opposed to just the consumption-based approach.
Understood. Thank you very much. How important do you feel that scalability is as a topic to people who are considering moving to the cloud? Being able to have that flexibility to increase capability and decrease it based on seasonality. Is that something that you hear people talk to you about very often?
First of all, the scalability is important to everyone, more to some than the others. So we'll take an example of retail customers. Now we are in the holiday season, and Black Friday was just gone a few weeks ago. So most of the retailers have peaked in Black Friday, Christmas, Mother's Day, Valentine's Day, Bachelor's Day, Singles Day in many countries. So there's always peaks, and many customers on mainframe either have to buy that peak or additional capacity throughout the year, or pay much steep and significant charges just to address that peak. So we have retailers coming all the time to Google Cloud because of the flexibility of the compute that we offer. And it's not just the VM, even the size of the VM, Google offer, I think, is the only company which offers custom compute. You can decide how many VMs and CPU that you need as opposed to the cookie cutter sizes. But the scalability is main concern, and one of the reasons people want to do more with less, and that is one of the main features that Google Cloud offers.
That makes sense to me. Something that you touched on before, I just think is so critical and so important. I just wanted to see if you had any other thoughts on it, with organizations being able to leverage newer and differing technologies. Do you feel that it's easier to do that in the cloud than on the mainframe? I know I always hate when I hear people talk about the mainframe being old technology and it's not modern. You can do so many things on the mainframe, obviously. But do you feel just in general that people have the ability to integrate different technologies and business intelligence and artificial intelligence off of the mainframe in the cloud than on the mainframe?
So the short answer is absolutely. And the long answer is, being in mainframe for the last 20 odd years or something, there's a virtual wall exists between the mainframe data center estate and non-mainframe. And non-mainframe is distributed cloud and all the good stuff that the IT as a whole is marching towards. And just the fact that while the wall exists, each side doesn't know much about the other side, and that really hampers the business growth, right? So what happens when the mainframe workload comes on cloud? That walls is broken and everyone is on the same side. Second, the integration happens at much faster pace. Even if it's a COBOL runs as COBOL in a rehost, that can be exposed as a web service and integrate with the Java application. The other thing that happens when that wall is broken, you unleash the power of data. Now all your system of records, customer data is in one side, and you can run much better analytics to understand the customer behavior, to project the new business model, to run AI and ML to your all the analysis analytics, and integrate your new services at a much faster and easier way than what it was on the mainframe. It's not about just running workload. That is the tactical shift that I've seen over time. That it's not just mainframe application versus Java application, but it's more about how a business is serving their customer. Now we see more newer models like uh, the Airbnb, the crowdsourcing, crowdfunding, microeconomy. There's an article that I was reading that the companies are offering insurance, auto insurance based on how many miles that you drive, as opposed to just owning a car, right? So it's not about owning a car, but it's driving, because the risk factor is differentiates when you are on the road and not in the garage.
Exactly.
So the adoption or responding to those newer business models becomes much faster if each system is talking to each other seamlessly. If the data power is harnessed, and the information is derived from data, which converts into knowledge and wisdom. I think that is the true reason behind integration, and it's far beyond just the technical integration, but to serving to the end customer.
I so agree with you. And I've certainly seen that over the years where, as you described it, when that wall is broken down and you have the ability to share information and share data, organizations can really do some fascinating things that probably would have been a lot harder otherwise. Well, I mean, it looks like we are coming up at the end of our half hour. I just wanted to thank you so very much for taking the time to join us today. I found this to be a fascinating talk, and I really did appreciate your viewpoint, and want to thank you for sharing them with us.
Thank you so much, Walter, for having me here. It was really an interesting conversation with you. And as we established the fact in the beginning that between GCP and Astadia, it's sort of a perfect marriage. And I'm really looking forward to working with you and your company many more at helping our mainframe clients.
We absolutely feel the same. Thank you so much. And for the audience, thank you again today for taking the time to join us. Please come visit us at www.astadia.com and check for our future podcasts. We look forward to spending a lot more time with you. Thank you all, and I hope you have a wonderful holiday season. Bye now.